Hello everybody, this is Mario Cabby here to screw the rules. That's right, I screw the rules. Okay, audio test out of the way. Well, what I got for y'all today is something I was thinking about doing for a while. Reviews I did for the graphic novel slash manga, Prince Adventures Genesis. And the web novel Prince Adventures Deliverance. And yeah, I had FantasySoft's permission to do these reviews. And yeah, my mic might be a little strange because I tried to increase the volume through the settings, though I'm not sure that I like it. But before we get started, I'd like to announce that Teespring has finally sent me all the profits I made from the "Oh no, we're out of Sacred Ointment" collection. So yeah. For the full amount I set to one business day, and as soon as that money comes in tomorrow, straight to Vic Mignogna's GoFundMe. Thanks, GoFundMe. Now, let's get into the reviews. First one was of, like I said, GN for graphic novel, though it is technically a manga. It reads like a manga. And this one I actually did pay 99 cents for in Comixology. Prince Adventures Genesis. And this is what I wrote, because, yeah. Damn it, man, I got the stupid... I overloaded the stupid encoder. I need to figure out how to speed up my encoding on freaking OBS. I boomered! Boomered! Anyway, here's what I wrote. I figured I'd do something different and write a review for a manga-style graphic novel. Actually, that's what I should call this, is a manga-style graphic novel, because it's not from Japan, so it's technically not a manga. For anyone who argues Ruby manga, that is actually made in Japan. This one, Prince Adventures Genesis, is a prequel to the upcoming animated series, Prince Adventures. There are multiple reasons I'm interested in Prince Adventures. For starters, Vic Mignogna, English, voice of Edward Elric in both Full Alchemist Brotherhood, as well as Broly and Dragon Ball movies, is playing one of the leads. Prince Nai Tahiti. Well, I'm sure that's Vic. I could have got it wrong. I am a boomer, but I did send this to FantasySoft originally, and they saw no problem, so you know. I'm sure I probably mispronounced the name. Nai Tahiti. I'm a boomer. Get over it. Another is the company behind Prince Adventures, FantasySoft Entertainment. When the Vic drama started, they openly said that they would continue to work with Vic because of innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Which I wholeheartedly agree, and props to you, FantasySoft. I'm not sucking up because I want to be a voice actor for you guys in the future. Secondly, they interact a lot with the fans on Twitter. Thirdly, they said they're interested in dubbing in the future. I'm trying to consider manhwa anime, the Chinese equivalent, because there's a lot of good ones out there, and it's pretty much an untapped market. Well, that's probably a few manhwa anime being dubbed, but I don't know any of it. Not to mention, I really love to see a dub of The King's Avatar. I love the manhwa anime to it, and I do love the novel, which I do. So if you... Stupid coding overloaded again. I'm gonna have to probably lower the volume on my speakers. Oy. Enough of that, let's get to the review. Warning! Spoilers ahead! Yeah, this is pretty much like the first page. The first chapter is titled Genesis and pretty much follows the Christian Bible. You know, the whole 7 day shtick. However, there is a divergence from the Bible as well, mainly a beast-human hybrid race called humans. Humans were created by God to help man talk to animals. The next divergence is the taboo. In the Holy Bible, man was only to eat meat, but in this case, the rule was not to interbreed. However, Satan, for some strange reason they don't use Lucifer, tempted the humans into it. And trying not to get into too many details, you should buy the book, which you should. Buy this graphic novel that's like a manga. Buy it. It's only 99 cents at Comixology. More expensive if you want a hard copy. But buy the hard copy anyway because you're supporting Fantasy Soft. There's one race of the humans that tried to stay out of forbidden intercourse. The Goshen cheetahs. Goshen. I really need to learn how they pronunciate it. Though they were forced to partake in it. Which is, yes, they're pretty much a 4-letter R word that I'm not going to say in case I ever get monetized. When God kicked everyone out of the garden into the world of Orion, the next divergence I'll get into later, God made the Goshen cheetahs the chosen people for actually trying to obey the rule against interbreeding. Wow, God in this really does not care much for humanity. Do you blame him? Of course, next image, which is thousands of years after the fall. This was from the next volume. They great Goshens were the cheetah and all that. You can look at this and read it, but buy the book. Or click on my site, which is actually the site listed on my Twitter, so yeah. Because these reviews are on my WordPress, I'm going to leave links to them in the description of the video. Before you ask why I keep looking to my right, it's because, not just because I have it set up so it looks like I'm looking at the stuff I'm reading, but because it's where I have my TV/secondary monitor where I have OBS running. The next chapter, called The 7 Kingdoms. Yes, I actually put it as a 7, not spelling 7. It explains the world of Orion via all 7 kingdoms in the world. I know the page is shown as a spoiler, but you were all warned in the beginning that there would be spoilers, so let's continue, shall we? We shall. The 7 kingdoms are as follows: Great Goshen, named after God's chosen; Masika, the underwater kingdom; Zephyros, the sky kingdom; Kanaga. That's how I'm going to pronounce it, because if it's pronounced a certain other way, I cannot say that on YouTube. The fourth kingdom based on the Garden of Eden; Ribrebrum, the Asian-based kingdom, and the one I'm most interested in, which I really am. Fantasy Soft, you need to get into more details about Ribrebrum. Rubrum. I don't know how you pronounce it, but you need to get into it. Anaira, the Arctic kingdom; and finally, Celosia, the human ruled kingdom that's prejudiced towards humans. All 7 kingdoms are unique. Some will have all races, while others have one specific race. Can't really call xenophobia on this one. In truth, I look forward to these being visited in the show. I want to learn all about the 7 kingdoms, especially Ribrebrum. It's based on ancient China, feudal Japan, both even. Not to mention Zephyros. I'm interested in a sky kingdom that's supposed to be held in the air on its people's faith, which, yeah. I may be a Christian, but even I can question things like that. And I want to know how it works, so Fantasy Soft, get to writing. Or better yet, get the animation out. And of course, Celestia, I'm curious how badly humans are treated by humans, which I am. Are they like, you humans are slaves? Bad humans! Whap with the whip! Whap with the whip! Whap with the whip! And I really need to get my microphone stabilized. Ay, ay, ay. This was from the first page of the third volume for the third chapter. In the third and final chapter in the first book, yes, despite supposedly being a manga, there's only 3 chapters, which I am letting this get away with. Beginning of the end is basically the epilogue to the book. It shows the villains before giving the profiles of protagonists, and the final bit, in truth, I don't really have much to say on the third chapter. It's short. It's all I can really say. Which, yeah, I can only really say it's really short. Now for the verdict. Honestly, I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I wanted to give it 5, but it's only 3 chapters and just a prologue for an upcoming animated series. It has great lore and does not really plagiarize the Holy Bible too much in the beginning. I'd say it's more or less based on it. Then again, if it's plagiarism, then Bethesda should be on my butt for the lore in some of my novels. Which, yeah, in Let's Go Devil King, it's pretty. The past is really inspired by the old world and the Fallout lore. Please don't sue me, Bethesda. Still, the Seven Kingdoms have a lot of unexplored lore that should be interesting. This is only a prologue after all, so I can't be harsh on it. So while I gave it 4 out of 5 Von Mixology, in truth, I gave it 4.5 out of 5. I think it was worth the 99 cents I spent on the digital version. Heck, I might even buy the $2.99 paperback in the future. It does give you more hype for the animated series, though not as much as the voice clips that FantasySoft recently given with the voices of Vic Mignogna and Todd Haberkorn. When the series comes out, I'm watching, not just because of Vic, but I do love a good story. And of course, to give credits where credit was due, Prince Adventures belonging to FantasySoft, link to the website, Prince Adventures website, the official Twitter accounts of FantasySoft and Prince Adventures, and a link to buy the graphic novel. And this video is already over 10 minutes, so wow. Just wow. Well, it looks like I'm going to be doing my review of Prince Adventures Deliverance tomorrow, which is also found on my blog, or the official site, at losthighwayblog.wordpress.com. And it was before I decided to put everything under the banner of RG07, okay? If it weren't for the fact I have a following on this WordPress account, I would have made another because I can't afford my own domain. But, heck with it. I'll just do it now anyway. Forget it. We're doing it live. Sort of. Review. The Prince Adventures Deliverance. Hey, boy, I'm gonna get you a squid. Not that Deliverance. Yeah, I'm gonna split this into 2 videos later. Why am I reviewing a light novel to a series I've already reviewed a prequel manga-style comic to? On the fact that the nice FantasySoft people asked me to, and sent me a PDF file for it, I wanted to do it. I was going to have it out yesterday, but I ended up being busier than I thought I would. Which I really was busy the day before I did this. Not to mention, the boss at the hunt invited me to attend a gathering for a men's ministry. Before KickFix says anything, it was just business. Though it was a good bit of preaching. Yeah, I put a little bit of stuff about what happened at the hunt that I'm not gonna get into. But anyway, to the review, spoilers ahead. And this is literally the first picture that was shown, which we'll get into some of my criticisms later. And yes, remember, Prince Zepeda Panea Tahuti, Cheetah Boy, Jacavi Amari, Monkey Boy, Zabra Bakari, Bunny Boy, and our simian Gluttonous Soul Minion. Pretty much a fat butt. By the way, the only image I got is the version I was sent had no images, and again, PDF file. Novel starts with Zakar Appa Appa, a child running away from slavers that had taken over his island village. The poor boy gets caught. It's not much, but it's the prologue. Which, yeah, did tell you spoilers, and that's pretty much all that happens, though you should still buy the book for FantasySoft. First chapter in the show begins with Prince Naya, the great Goshen cheetah race, and his younger brother Zapanath. Zafnath. Having a brotherly brawl, the friends Kazi and Jacoby, watching and cheering them on. Not getting into what it's about, buy the book. Later, when playing wrestling with Jacoby and their boxers, which yes, it does go into detail about that in the novel, a bubble appears in front of Zafnath. I'm just going to call him Zaf for short, which I should have just done at the beginning of this recording. It's not canon to call him that, but it's much easier than typing out his full name, which is even easier than pronouncing it, okay? No shade on FantasySoft, it's just me. Anyway, Bubble turns out to be God. It tasks Zaf with freeing the residents from Appa Appa, the slaver Arsimian, the big red fat guy. Despite Zaf being 9 years of age, he agrees to God's task and sneaks out of the palace when Jacoby and Zahara are in tow. Yeah, makes those two go along. Zahara was forced by Zaf and Jacoby to accompany him because he was standing outside Zaf's room. I feel bad for that poor little bunny boy. It's basically a synopsis of the novel. The three kids, who are not really preteens, go out and save an island from a slaver who is Satan's believer. Zakar joins them after dying from his wounds and being revived by Zaf by God's command. In a sense, it's someone's retelling of Moses rescuing the Hebrews from the Pharaoh. Don't get me started on Prince Nine not caring about his missing younger brother. Trust me, I wanted a facepalm. Which I actually did facepalm, but I didn't want to tell anybody. I suggest reading the novel for yourselves. Yes, there is a love interest, a little bit for Zaf, but Iolani ends up leaving with some of Satan's acolytes behind the scenes when she gives a killing blow to Arsimian via bow from a distance for revenge for what he'd done to her parents. I don't want to give too much of the story. As someone who supports FantasySoft, I'm asking you to buy the novels and comics for yourself. But that aside, time for cons and pros. I don't want to say pros and cons, but this is not the case. Which actually got me and FantasySoft arguing later on. This was crossed out. I looked at, because originally said only 63 pages, again, some PDF. Looked at the site saying it was actually 72 pages. Could have been like pictures in the file I received for all I know, so yeah, we might have to scratch this off the cons. Lack of character descriptions. I think more pages could have been filled if they did descriptions of each of the characters. When you introduce a character in a novel, it's better to explain their features, their clothing, specific smells, if a character has one. As a novelist myself, the lack of that irks me. Not all characters will have a picture to accompany them in a light novel. This is really one of the main things that FantasySoft and me argued about. How overpowered the kids can get. Look, I'm no stranger to OP characters, will admit they tried to balance Zaf in the first place, fight against one of Arsimian's giants that he could have killed in one hit by making him pass out. Zaf's a kid, but all the kids seem to have impressive fighting skills as well. Which could have explained, like, they're a warrior race, they're taught to fight as young, or something like that. Half the writing in general. I can't call the writer professional. The novel's not bad, but it's no masterpiece either. This partially has to do with the lack of characters when introduced that I've mentioned earlier. The writer could have also worked on some information as well. I read a lot, from regular novels, translations of both web and light novels. The beginning of each volume shows the information when the characters and locations come up. Which, yes, they do. The pros, usage of cliches. I'll give credit to the writer on that one. They didn't use every single cliche in the book for this book. Only a few were used for it. Character development. It suited the development of the character pace needed the age of the children. Kids grow up fast, don't think as hard as teenagers. So accepting God's task as well as other things so fast isn't hard to believe. Which, yeah, if you know the mind of a child, because I'm an uncle, though only like one of my nieces and two of my nephews are legit. And I know how they think. They'll easily go for it if they feel like it's right thing to do. They'll do it. Not everything being all's well that ends well. Some villagers died. I'm not saying that them dying is a good thing, but it didn't need with but didn't end with everything with everyone being okay at the end. I grew up watching reruns of shows like He-Man and She-Ra, both which were under the Masters of the Universe line. I do remember an episode of He-Man where Prince Adam thought a person died and decided to be He-Man no more as he failed to save them. Originally, the writers were going to have someone actually die, but cartoons were in the 80s. I personally think the episode would have had more impact if someone did die, as Adam would have realized that he couldn't save everyone, but it shouldn't stop him from trying to save all that he can. If no one died in this book, the emotional factor would have been missing, which, yeah, I believe that. I'm not saying it's a good thing they died, but some sacrifice had to be made, because you can't have the good guys winning at every single thing. Some people weren't able to be saved. So yeah. The balance with the Christianity factor. Well, more like not plagiarizing the Bible. I get it. It's a Christianity-inspired series. Believe it or not, I am a Christian. But it wasn't in your face about it. Like VeggieTales, before they run the series, this novel tells it without saying you're going to hell if you don't do everything God says. But that's all Prince Adventures and VeggieTales has in common. Reading this, you can tell it's not for all ages. It even explains Prince Denai impregnating a servant girl, which I will get into later. Not afraid to be what it is. I will admit, I felt uncomfortable with the fact Zeph and Jacoby were playing video games in their birthday suits. It's just like that, trust me. Or the detailed explanation of Prince Denai's semen unloading to a servant girl's wound. Then again, if the writer isn't afraid of putting in what they want, my respect earned. The verdict. The pros actually outnumber the cons. I will admit the writer needs to polish up their writing. However, it says nothing about the overall series. Overall, I can give this a low 4 out of 5. That's the overall low I can give it. Trust me, I want to give it a full 5 out of 5 and ask me to review it. But I have to be fair as well when I write these things. Not just the fantasy stuff, but to anyone reading this as well as myself. The light novel itself isn't bad to read. It's better than most of the MTLs, machine translations of Japanese web novels out there. I personally think the future novels will be better as the writer keeps writing. The series itself, it has potential. Okay, it has potential. And this novel says nothing about the upcoming animation either, so yeah. I had to take everything into effect when writing this review. Then this is all about where you can buy the novel at. But I'm gonna switch to my face cam. And dang, cigarette filtered cigar went out. Kids, don't take up smoking. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Eventually, Fantasy Soft, after reading my review, contacted me about the web novel defending themselves, or, well, more like explaining themselves. That they had pictures, so they didn't have to do a description of every character. But in truth, I'm a firm believer that you need to describe each character at the beginning when they're introduced, no matter what volume it is. When they're introduced to the volume, You need to reintroduce the character, like what they look like, features about them, what they wear. It's because usually volumes come out years apart, so each reader might not have reread the previous one in excitement. And some people have bad memory. So it's a common practice when you write down your character and introduce it to have a description of what they look like. Their argument was that they have pictures. Look, no shade on FantasySoft. I love you guys. I really do. But it's just my own opinion as a writer about that one. Now, as for the maid thing, that was part of the argument about that with FantasySoft. Well, discussion, not argument. Still love FantasySoft. Because they didn't describe if the maid was a blonde, a brunette, a Great Goshen, human. They told me straight out that was a human maid, but how was I supposed to know that when I read the novel? They did not describe the maid at all as human or otherwise. But they sure had an accurate description of the maid being impregnated. Even tells how Prince Nye's semen is going into her womb. So yeah. And no, I am not going to show the DMs between me and FantasySoft because I don't share my DMs. At least without permission. FantasySoft, you're good company. But in reality, I still think the writing of the first web novel could have been more polished. I do have high hopes for the upcoming one coming out soon. And yes, even if I do have to buy it this time, I will review it. Written review before an actual video review. Anyway, this is Mario Kaiba. Screwing the rules because I have green hair. Thanks.